For this project, we're going to create a poster or a 5x4 or 4x5 Instagram post inspired by Jonathan Carrera's Bike Expo New York poster right here. So it's going to end up looking like this. You can see where the inspiration comes from. It's a little bit simplified, but essentially we're going to be using this vector graphic contrast compared to the photorealism left to right. So in order to set this up, we're going to use Photopea. We're going to go to New, and we're going to create a 1080 by 1350 canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up. Now, if that happens, that means that you set it up wrong. So we're going to go File, New, double check our dimensions. Again, we want 1080 wide by 1350 tall. So 1080, looks like something got a little messed up as I was setting it up and messed up again. 1080 by 1350. There we go. Hit create. That's going to give us our canvas. Now we're going to use the asset manhole.jpg, which you can either drag into your application or you can go to File, Open in Place. So that's going to give us this document, or this file right here. We just want to center it up. We'll use the Smart Guides to get it in the middle. And what you're going to notice is that it's not quite wide enough. So a little trick that we can do is we can take our selection tool, and I'm going to create a rectangular selection that just covers sort of the edge of the concrete here. Now I don't want any of the sewer cover right there, but I just want to get this area here, and it has to go the full height of the document like so. Okay, so that's perfect. And then I'm just going to Control C, Control V to copy and paste. And so I've basically just created that layer right on top of it. You can't even see it's there until I use my Move tool here and I turn on my transform controls. I'm just going to drag this out because this is not exactly super detailed. Like I can get away with skewing the dimensions right here. You know, is it ideal? You know what? We can get away with it. This is a crime that we can get away with. So what we want to do next is create a new layer, and we want to cover half of the canvas, or the left side of the canvas, with our with a solid color. And so you can see 540 is half of 1080, and so I see the little width number right there. So I'm going to make that selection. I already have my new layer right here, and then I'm going to choose a color. Ours is just going to be inspired by Jonathan Carrera's poster, so we're not going to use the exact same colors. I'm using this sky blue color, and the hex code is 00D2FF. Just make sure that you're sort of close to it. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my paint bucket tool. I'm going to fill in this half of the document. I'll press Control D to deselect the rectangular selection that I had created. To keep things clean, I'm going to select layer 1 in manhole right here and press Control G to just group this up. And I'm going to label this manhole photo, just so I know what it is. Let's next go ahead and grab our vector shapes down here. You'll probably see the rectangle by default. We want to choose the ellipse, and I know that this is the exact center point of this circle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click in the middle, but then hold the Option key or the Alt key if you're on a PC, and I'm going to hold Shift to make sure that I have a circle that grows from the middle outward. If I need to adjust this a little bit later, I have the ability to do that. So by default, you're probably going to have a red fill with no stroke, so it'll look sort of like this. Now, if your layers are all off, you can see that my circle is below my blue square. I'm just going to adjust the stack order right here. And now I'm going to change my fill to no fill. And I'm going to change my stroke to, I'm going to click right here, and then I can click here. I want to have like a dark gray. So I'm using the hex code 252525. And I'll hit OK. And then I want the stroke to be about 20 pixels. And one additional thing, I want the position of my stroke. By default, it'll probably be on the center. I want it on the inside, which I can set right here. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the outside circle right here, and I'm going to press Control J, or I could right click and I could duplicate that layer. And so now I want to take the bottom one right here, and I'm going to increase the width to, or the stroke width to 45 pixels, and I'm going to make it white like so. So that sort of created the illusion of a bicycle tire per the reference above. I'm going to take these two tire layers, and I'm going to press Control G to group them. I could also go to layer, group layers, and then I'm going to just name this tire. And then what I'm going to do is grab my rectangular selection tool again. I'm going to take a 540 pixel wide document right here, and I'm going to add a mask. So that will mask out the back half of or the right half of the tire. If these don't line up quite perfectly, then what you can do is drop down the group, select these two objects, and then again use your move tool, transform controls, and I want to just grab the corner right here. I'm going to hold shift. I'm just going to make it so that the tire is the exact same size as the manhole cover. I'll turn off my transform control so I can see that. You might have to fine tune it just a little bit, so I'm using my arrow keys to sort of finely position it. I like where that is now, so I'm going to turn that off. All right, next thing that I'm going to do is add some text, and so we're going to create a Bike Safety Week 2020 poster. So I'm going to grab my type tool, and I'm going to go to my character settings right here. I'm going to use a font called Open Sans. This should be available. And I'm going to use Open Sans Extra Bold. And I'm going to have to play around with the font just a little bit, but I think for starters what I want to do is have a 120 pixel sized font, and I want it to, in my paragraph settings, be left aligned. And I'm going to use a font color. So back to character settings, I want white right up here. Hit OK, so I have those character settings all set. I'll click once right here. I'm going to write bike, and then press enter, safety. Now, I don't like how much leading there is, how much space there is between there. So I'm going to click the check mark here. I'll grab my move tool to just sort of drop this down a bit. And I'm going to change my leading from, instead of auto, uncheck that. 60 is too close. Let's try 80. That's not good. Let's try 100. So, okay, I like that. That's just a little bit, snugger together. Now I'm going to click in my rulers right here, and I'm going to hold the Shift key, and I'm going to drag a guide 50 pixels from the edge. Now that was 40, so let me go 10 more pixels. That was 20. There we go. And I'm going to do the same from the top. And so what I'm basically doing is just setting up a reference for where I'm going to position my text elements. And so I'm going to do one more 50 pixels from the right edge right here. So go to 10, it's 1080, so I want to go to 1030. That's 50, 1080 minus 50. And then right here from the bottom, this is 1350, so I want a 1300 right there. Okay, now I'm going to save myself some trouble. I like how I have this text set up, so I want to write week 2020. I'm going to click on this, right click, and duplicate the layer. I will then move it over to the right hand side. I'm going to use my paragraph settings to right align this. I'll scooch it on over to the intersection right here, use my smart guides to line up with the guides. I'll double click on this, and then I'm going to write week, and then enter 2020. And for this, I actually want to have a little bit of contrast in color between the left and right textual elements. I like this in white. Gray would be too dark, so I'll click the check mark. I'll grab my type tool again, highlight bike safety, and then right here I can click on the fill color, and I'm going to click on this tire right here to sample the gray that I want. Remember, that's 252525. Hit OK, and I'll check mark that right there. All right, I like what I have going so far. We only have a few more things to add. We have to add this text down here, so we're going to continue to use the Open Sans Extra Bold, but we are going to add this text right here. So May 1st through 7th, 2020. And so we can do that a number of different ways. It's sort of up to you. You could duplicate this and then modify the text. Since this is mostly set up, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to hold the Alt or Option key, click and drag. So I have bike safety right here. I'll snug it down in the corner, and then I'm going to write by double clicking in here, May 1 through 7, 2020. And obviously this font is too big and it's the wrong color, so I'm going to change the color to white. I'll hit OK. I'm going to change the font size. I'm going to set it to auto for a minute, and then I'm going to knock this down to, let's try 72. I think I like that, but I'm going to adjust my leading. I'll knock that down to 60, just to, again, to snug everything up. I'll check that, use my move tool, and I'll just position that down in this area. All right, we've got one more thing to do, which is to put in our textual information. We're going to write where this is taking place, Glenbrook South High School. I'm going to say that's open to the public. We're also going to borrow this hint of color to use for high school, just so that there's some amount of hierarchy and color to break up the flow of text right there. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead. This is most of the way there, so I'll use my duplication trick again. I'm going to change my paragraph right alignment, snug it over again, and I know that the text, the font is going to be too big already, so I'm going to go to character, turn on auto for now, and then I'm going to go to 32 for my font size, and I'm going to start typing. So let me go ahead, grab my type tool. I'm going to write Glenbrook South, next line, high school, and then I'm going to say open to the public. Now, in order to get that different color, I simply just highlight the letters that I want, and then I can click up in my options panel up here, or right in here in the character panel. I'm going to choose that blue. All right, click that. Finally, grab my move tool and then position this accordingly. Now I can go to view, and I'm going to clear the guides so I can see what this looks like. And I have this cool, interesting contrast design with the vector graphics on the left and sort of the photorealistic graphics on the right. Make sure you save this as a PSD file to your folder and then export it as a JPEG. Remember, you can do that by going to File, Export as JPG. Call this bike safety. Good job.